2 raging book nerds, 14 years of friendship, and 1 burning question.
If Katniss Everdeen posted on Reddit, would she be the arsehole?
Welcome to Once Upon a Red Flag. This season, we're stepping into Panem, where every tribute, tyrant, and mentor gets their day in the Am I the Asshole courtroom.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Rachel.
And join us while we read between the red flags and break down the Hunger Games, one questionable decision at a time. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 11 of Once Upon a Red Flag.
11.
Yeah, and obviously this won't be when the episode comes out, but it's officially 2026 and
it is
heavily snowing in the northeast.
Not in the northwest. I have blue skies. I'm sorry.
This weather is it'd be fine if I didn't have plans, but like snow always happens when you're meant to be busy. It's never when you're not.
Unless you're in high school, and then it's always on a weekend and the school's never closed.
Yeah, to be fair, I think I've only ever had like 4 snow days off school in my life.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, so.
But the snow in the northwest, lasts all of 1 day and turns to sludge in about 3 hours. So enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yeah. So if I get distracted, if you're watching on video and I get distracted during this recording, it's just because I am scared about the amount of snow that is falling out of that window right there.
Onto your balcony.
Yes, exactly.
Which might not hold the weight.
Yes, these are my fears and my worries. Anyway, we're going to get into this week's episode of Once Upon a Red Flag. And I think, Rachel, you've got the icebreaker this week.
I have a question for you. Yes. So this episode is focusing on like everyone around Katniss. Spoiler, this episode, if you haven't read the title, is Am I the Asshole for Stringing 2 Guys Along While I Make a Decision? So obviously we're focusing on Katniss, and her feelings pulling on everyone like it's a game of tug of war. But there are some people who choose to stay in their place or say their piece and put pressure on this girl. You know who I am talking about, Gale, looking at you. And I think that Peeta is a major green flag in this episode, and we'll get into all those reasons why later. But what is a small, everyday thing that you consider a major green flag in a person?
Okay, so a small, everyday thing. So not like the initial ones I can think of are like really big green flags in relationships. But I guess a small, everyday one is probably, if you go out for a meal, whether that be a date or that be with friends or family or whatever, and you've eaten all your food. So, sometimes I do it, sometimes I forget, but you usually have that person who likes to stack all the plates and organize the table and help, but just kind of make the lives easier for the people who work in the restaurant. I usually find those people very much green flags because it shows they're considerate, they're thinking of other people, they want to make other people's lives easier, and that usually translates into other areas of their life and other friendships as well. So I usually find those people are usually green flag people. I don't think I've met someone who isn't, but I'll let you know if I do.
If you ever find someone who is sort of a red flag person immediately. I guess mine was more linked to specific relationships. I guess obviously I wrote the question. We're dealing with Peeta and Gale. I was thinking of mine in my walking green flag partner, and I guess mine was just doing the little things. So he knows that I'm not a huge fan of washing up because I don't like the feeling of wet food touching my hands. It cringes me out real bad. So he does the washing up for me, so I don't have to do that because he knows that it'll stress me out. Or the first person up makes a cup of coffee, so he makes me coffee every morning because he is the coffee maestro. He has the coffee machine. He shares that with me. But I think one of the biggest things I found, and I don't know whether you class it as a small green flag. I thought of it as a small green flag. So I have a chronic illness, and I was scared to tell Tom that I had a chronic illness when we first met because when I met him, I hadn't been diagnosed yet. I was under investigation for it, and I got diagnosed. And it's not a sexy illness. It's not one of the good ones. It's not one of the easily hideable ones. It deals with a gross part of your body. And he was immediately just like, okay, cool. How can I help? How can I help you? How do we figure this out? And I was like, oh, that's sweet. Because I was also scared to tell him. And I was like, that's cute. That's a small green flag, that, to be like, that's not your issue. That's, tell me about it. We'll deal with it together. And I thought that was a small green flag. And then I found other people who had ulcerative colitis, and they told me that their partners had left them
Oh my
when they
God,
got
really?
chronically ill.
Really?
Really.
That's
because it was
terrible.
gross, or because they were obviously dealing with a chronic illness and didn't have the spoons available to like be social and things, and couldn't help out around the house as much anymore. And they were left by their partners instead. But that is a statistic, by the way, that if any in a heterosexual relationship, because it's always the straights.
Not
I say
always.
that in a straight relationship, well, predominantly is.
Yeah.
So if in a straight relationship, if the male partner was to get terminally ill, most women will stay. I think it's something like, if the female partner in the relationship gets terminally ill, it's like an 80% higher chance that the man will leave.
My God, that's ridiculous.
It is actually insane. So over here, I'm like, oh, he'll help me. He'll help me out, and he'll help me look after me, and he'll change his diet around because I can't eat certain things anymore. And he's totally fine with that. That's just cute. That's sweet. That's just a small thing. And then you're over here like, okay, no, men are more likely to leave you if you're ill. What's up with that, men? What are you doing?
I'm
What are you
actually
doing, guys?
I'm a little bit in shock, because for me, maybe that's just because I've only ever been in female relationships. I don't know why it feels so weird saying the word female. It sounds wrong. It's like something the dad from Friday Night Dinner says, doesn't he? Didn't he say that? Anyway, I don't know. I guess it's different maybe when it's two women. Shocked by that statistic.
Sorry, and I haven't even given you the actual number itself. I feel like the number itself is probably like more dramatic than I've made it. I think I've toned it down because I couldn't remember the exact number.
Right.
But it was pretty bad. Though I did see it on Facebook, so however accurate that is, I don't know.
True. Is there
Have
anybody listening who can fact check Rachel, please, and tell us whether that that statistic is correct? I'm kind of really hoping it's not, because it just sounds terrible.
I might have a quick fact check myself now.
Okay, fact check. Fact check time. Wikipedia doesn't count.
I'm on Bing right now because it gets me points.
Why are you 65?
I'm on Bing because it's Microsoft and it gets me points for using the Xbox Store when I buy games.
I can't remember the last time I used Bing. Sorry, I'm kind of just trashing Bing on the podcast. Sorry.
I prefer Google, but like I do a search. Okay, so this is Bing's AI that has come up with this. It has referenced 6 places. But it says 20.8% of female cancer patients are divorced or separated, compared to 2.9% of male cancer patients. Men are 6 times more likely to leave their wives after a terminal diagnosis than women are. And the source it has listed for that is some study cited by a website. Let me find the study itself. Let me be ad-free, please. I'm not turning off my ad blocker to look at that. No. And then HuffPost is saying that we maybe overestimated it.
Okay, well, either way, it doesn't sound great, does it?
Either way, it's not great.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether they overestimated it or not, it's not great at all.
Okay, moving on from our little statistics lesson, if you could call it that. What is the post today, Rachel?
So today's post is Girl on Fire, again asking, am I the asshole for stringing 2 guys along while I make a decision?
Maybe, but let's listen to the contact.
This one might surprise you, actually. Like, I was prepping this episode and my opinion did a complete U-turn. So
okay.
Let's hear what she has to say. So I, 17 female, survived a televised deathmatch by faking a romance with another tribute 17 male. This turned out to be a fantastic strategy. The audience loved it, as did anyone who was able to sponsor us. Not only did this mean that we got sent food, but it also allowed us to both walk out of the arena when only one of us was meant to survive. But now the whole country thinks we're a couple. The government expects us to act like one, and I've been told in no uncertain terms that my family's safety depends on this. Eesh. He isn't a bad guy, but I'm not entirely sure how I feel about him. I never planned on being with anyone, and I value his friendship, but he definitely has feelings for me, and it feels shitty to keep play acting for the cameras and screwing with his feelings further.
Okay.
And there's another problem. My best friend of 6 years, 18 male, apparently also has feelings for me too. Does he? We grew up hunting together.
Questionable.
Questionable. If you tuned into the last episode, questionable. We grew up hunting together and keeping our respective families alive. He's never mentioned anything to me about wanting a relationship until after I'd already survived the arena. I'm not entirely sure I feel that way about him either. I've never looked at anyone that way. I didn't see the point when I'd already decided marriage and children would never be a thing for me. But it seems that everyone has already expected us to get together at some point, him included. So now I'm hurting my best friend too. But I don't have the time or space to figure any of this confusing mess out. If I'm not being directly or indirectly threatened by our government, I'm trying to stop the government by inciting rebels to help overthrow this awful regime that we live in. I'm not safe. My family isn't safe. I have to pretend I'm in love with one of them while hiding any potential feelings for the other, and definitely not looking like I'm conflicted every time a camera is pushed in my face. And to top it all off, I'm being blamed for things I never intended to do or had any control over. And I'm facing imminent death by going back into yet another arena to do another televised deathmatch. I know it looks like I'm leading these two guys on, because I cannot make up my mind between the two. But I cannot see a way to figure this out when the chances are I will die tomorrow and the whole thing would have been a moot point anyway. How do I follow my heart when I can't tell what my heart is saying and when I'm being drowned out by the stress of the wrong choice getting people killed? Am I the asshole for not being able to make up my mind? What's your first thought with that?
My first thought is, what the hell?
How the hell have you got into this mess, girl?
Advised death match, being threatened by the government, inciting the rebels, having to pretend to be in love with one of them. What the hell is my...
And then a love triangle.
So we're going to get into the depths of this, I think, because I think this does need to be broken up a fair bit. It's not black and white, easy, and it's not straightforward. So we're going to jump into it. Okay, so before we get into this episode, there are a couple of things we want to get out of the way first. Just to summarize some of the previous discussions we have had, because otherwise we're just going to be repeating ourselves for this entire episode. This episode could rapidly become a giant mess, just like Katniss's ability to process her emotions, or Katniss's inability, as the case may be. We've already discussed the fact that Katniss is an unreliable narrator when it comes to her own emotions, and she's never really had the ability to really feel something. It's like frivolous, if you call it that, as love.
Yeah, to her it is, isn't it?
Yeah, like everything with her has been about survival. So it's no wonder once the girl gets into this mess, like she really struggles to like get out of it or like process her way out of it. And we've already established that Gale is a major red flag in the last episode, but I also want to make sure we show Gale some grace in this episode, which I never thought I would be saying, or at least show Katniss some grace for her opinions on Gale. Okay, little disclaimer done.
That's easier. It's easier as well to show Katniss grace on her opinions of Gale, because like I think that's a very important distinction there to make, because Gale can be a major red flag. Well,
yes,
can be, is.
Yes.
But we can't just assume that Katniss knows how to spot a red flag and run in the opposite direction. So like not only is she young for a start off, like, and we can judge Gale for his actions, but it's not fair to judge Katniss for her reactions to that because of her youth, but also like she basically lives in a world full of red flags.
Yep.
So spotting one in a sea of a million others is probably going to be very difficult to begin with. And then let's face it, like Gale is so much less of an issue than
Yeah.
every single piece of propaganda that the Capitol churns out like clockwork. So, like, I can see how she might not pick up on Gale's red flags immediately.
Yeah. And I also want to flag here the particular phrase Katniss has used in this post. Like, she says she needs to make a decision, but I feel like in many ways there wasn't really a decision to make from the beginning, because before the games, like, she never saw Gale in a romantic sense. Like, she wasn't looking at anyone in a romantic sense. It wasn't until after the games that this false sense of a decision came into her life. And this is something that will come up again and again in this episode.
And again, and again, and again.
Yes.
I think the question here actually needs to be like, is it possible to even make a decision when like all the choices are ultimatums?
Yeah.
Like, pull this out of context for a minute, because making a decision implies that you have free will and that the choice is entirely yours to make. But what is actually happening here is that on all sides, she is getting ultimatums. It's always if you don't do this, this will happen. She doesn't actually have a choice to make in the first place. It is nothing here is within her power at all.
I think there will be people who will argue against like even that, because I know how many people say that Katniss is toying with both Poe's emotions, but even without everyone around her being like way too invested in her romantic life, like, let's look at the rest of the Panem context with the games, District 12, etc. Katniss is 16, 17, okay? Like, she's a teenager. She's going through some of the worst trauma anyone would ever have to go through. Like, literally scarring. Her people are starving. Her district is brutal. She's lost her dad. Her sister got raped, and she, without thinking, volunteered. And then she goes into the games. Like, as we've said, a televised fight to the death, gladiator style, one child wins. Like, these people are children. This list is literally way too long to even continue. Like, we'll be here for ages. And you can't go through her entire list of traumas, because I don't want to edit an episode that long.
No. If we actually did that, I think it'd probably be a 5-hour long episode. And we still wouldn't cover everything, because it is, I mean, though entirely, you could probably argue that if you're going to list her entire traumas, that is probably our entire, 24 episode season.
Yeah.
That is all this is just Katniss's traumas, one after the other, after the other, after the other, just with a little bit of context sprinkled in. And for that reason, like, the romance in this series, I guess, it's one of the criticisms that I guess I had when I read it for the first time. But then obviously you reread it again as you get older and you see things in a different way. Like, 16-year-old me wanted romance in her plots. And obviously this isn't the case. The romance in this series often feels like an afterthought. But that's because to Katniss, it is. Simply put, it is.
True.
Like,
yeah.
How do you go through all of this trauma and still know what you want and who you want? Like, who do you choose to spend the rest of your life with when the rest of your life might only be a day, a week, maybe a month? Like, you'll be extremely lucky if you last another year in this chaos. Like, it isn't really important to her at the ripe old age of 17 who she picks.
Yeah.
But, like, for some reason, it still feels like President Snow and Gale are, like, huddled on Katniss's bed at some high school, like, sleepover. Like, they've just given each other manicures and have snuck in some cheap booze. And, like, I don't know why, but I'm picturing that one scene in Grease. But instead of, like, Rizzo climbing on the bed singing Sandra Dee, and them all, like, crowding around Marty's sister boyfriend, pen pals, like, it's Snow and Gale. And they're just, like, crowding round Katniss in bed, like, interrogating her. Like, they're basically like, yeah, so, like, I know you were pulled from your town and forced to kill people on national TV while they also tried to kill you, but you suffered some, like, really horrific physical injuries, and I get that. I really do. And now you're also, like, severely traumatized. But, like, since you have to pick a boyfriend, who's it gotta be?
Oh my God, that's a
Like,
terrifyingly creepy image in my head now. Thanks for that, Rachel.
But that's how it feels.
Yeah.
It's how it feels so bad. And it's so screwed up. It's so screwed up.
Now with that out of the way and that interesting image in all of our listeners' heads, shall we get even further into it?
Yeah, let's get further into it because my brain is now picturing President Snow in a hairnet.
Yeah, nobody needs that,
Hairnet and
Rachel.
rollers.
Nobody needs that. We're going to get flagged for being inappropriate. Thanks.
I kind of want to start like the full discussion by
Mhm.
doing a quick like recap of where everyone kind of is at physically and mentally at the start of this book, because
Mhm.
I think a lot of this mess is directly related to how screwed up all Katniss's feelings are about these boys. And obviously where she
Mhm.
starts at the beginning of the book and where they end up at the end of the book is a whole world apart from where she
Yeah.
started.
And just to clarify, this book is Catching Fire. If some
Yes.
people aren't up to date on some of the most recent episodes, go back and listen. This will make more sense.
It will.
So Gale and Peeta, two very different boys who hold very different places in her life. Katniss has known Gale since she was, 11, 12?
I think
Like,
11.
yeah, they
I
met
think
when
it's
she
like that
was
area, that age range.
examining some of Gale's traps in the woods because they were both kind of, they were already breaking the law by foraging and hunting under the fence. They got close by basically helping each other take care of their families because they were both in exactly the same situation. They'd obviously lost both of their dads in the same mining accident. But at no point did Katniss ever mention that she has feelings for Gale. Like, Katniss mentioned that she's seen Gale, oh my God. Katniss mentions that she's seen Gale have girls swoon over him, but she's never felt like that herself. And Peeta, our boy Peeta, someone who's helped her when she and her family were starving the most by throwing the burnt bread, who she remarks has always seemed popular at school and always been around people, making friends, someone who, until the games, hasn't really had the cause to be around. Like, Peter's not going to be out in the woods, like, foraging and hunting
No.
and all of that. So it's like a mirror situation of Katniss's mum and dad. Like, Katniss is from the seam and Peeta is merchant. So we're kind of seeing, I think we did also discuss this, I think, in the very first episode as well, how that situation is kind of mirrored. And then that does make Gale and Peeta two very different
Ends
boys.
of like the District 12 spectrum, really, aren't they? You have, it's like lawful good and probably chaotic evil, let's be honest. By the time we get to the end, of Mockingjay, I'm going to go ahead and say Gale is chaotic evil. But like, I also wanted to point out there how Gale and Peeta both helped Katniss to survive in like her darkest moments, but in different ways.
Very
So
different ways.
we can't even say that, well, Gale's the only one who helped her live, because he's not. Peeta is as well. And then obviously you have the mirror situation where they are two sides of the same coin, even in this regard. Like, it all probably plays into this star-crossed lovers thing because, like, opposites attract. Two different classes made equal, like, by their impending deaths. Like, when you get to Peeta and Katniss going into the arena together, even if they were a world apart, like Seaman Merchant, Katniss's mum and dad, like the one person who helped her survive that one time versus the person who was with her all the time, they are put on a level playing field at that point. I can kind of see why the Capitol bought into the ruse.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like a classic Shakespeare retelling all over again. The whole star-crossed lovers thing, obviously harking back to Romeo and Juliet. It, and then Gale is explained away as just a cousin.
Yes,
and like,
a cousin.
Going into that a bit more, like, I kind of want to point out that, like, Katniss and Peeta, like, they get off the train and things are tense between them at that point because of the whole, like, I thought you knew it was a ruse thing, because obviously Peeta's a bit miffed that he was buying into Katniss's feelings at this point. And I think here it's a lot less complicated because, like you said, like, she never had feelings for Gale before this point.
Yeah.
Like, she actively denied them when Peeta threw the suggestion out there before they went to the first arena. Like, she did not have to figure out anything with Gale until Gale himself got involved.
Yeah, that's a good point.
When she got off the train, all she had to do was stay alive, fake a romance, and then like kind of figure out how much of that fake romance could be real. It's difficult enough, right? But it's easier. And then Gale has been explained away to the capital as the cousin. So like he is not on anyone else's radar as having any interference with this as far as Snow is aware of, I guess, or anyone in the capital who is like having Katniss under scrutiny. He's not on the playing field at all. And I'm going to bring this up now because it makes the more sense chronologically. Do we think Gale is just bitter that he got labeled as her cousin to the whole nation? Because he's basically too handsome to be a loose end. And he would be seen as competition for Peeta. Because, like, how could any girl possibly hang out with a guy who looks like that without developing feelings? Like, do we think this is partly why he makes things so difficult? Like, does it stem from jealousy because he has been discounted rather than actual feelings?
I feel like, right, so we did discuss in the most recent episode, which is a Gale episode, how he's very passive aggressive, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has that feelings of bitterness. He is probably aware that he is a good looking bloke, and obviously they cast him as a good looking bloke in the film. But like I think he is aware, like he is a good looking bloke, like he's around a lot of girls, he's kind of gone out with a lot of girls and all that sort of stuff during school, so he knows he's good looking. And I think he probably thought, oh, it'll be fine, like Katniss will come back and then I can get in there and like I'm good looking, so it's fine. And then I think because he's been labelled as her cousin, I wouldn't be surprised if he has got a little bit bitter and he's like, oh, I'm being stopped from doing what I want kind of thing. And now he's just kind of annoyed. So he's just going to make it as awkward as possible for everybody involved. Like,
and then he starts actively making trouble, I guess, as well. But we'll get into all the trouble that Gale causes, specifically in regards to this situation later on. I kind of want to start out a little bit lighter and go into our golden boy first and deal with Katniss and Peeta together as a potential.
Before we talk more about Gale, which I never really want to do, let's talk about Katniss and Peeta. Because as you pointed out, before Gale got involved, it would have been a much simpler and straightforward and less stressful decision. So it's in Catching Fire that Katniss starts to get proper feelings for Peeta. I think in the first book, it comes from primarily survival and a performative place, but now she starts to see Peeta in a different light. Like Peeta starts to understand Katniss more as well. He says he can do the talking during the victory tour, but not in a possessive way. And he starts to show his small rebellions, which she hasn't seen in Peeta. Like with him being from the merchant class, he hasn't really had the opportunity to do any of that. And when they're on the victory tour and doing their speech in District 11, Peeta offers 1 month of their winnings to Thresh and Rue's families for the rest of their lifetimes, which is so heartwarming and so brave, since technically he isn't allowed to actually do that. But
he's not.
Does.
He's really not.
But it's another way in which Katniss sees Peeta's rebellious side come out, one that doesn't hurt people, but helps people instead.
Yeah, and this, like, it is so sweet. It's so sweet, and it's just so Peeta. And this to me basically proves how well Peeta understands and knows Katniss. Like, there is zero discussion about this beforehand. Like, he just knows she would agree to this. And it's something that if she had thought of it first, she would have done herself. And, like, I think Katniss probably, if she had thought of it, would have discarded it as like not being a feasibility, and they'd never let her do that. Peeta just goes, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, well, I'm going to offer it. Like, he doesn't even think it through in that way. He just sees how much that would align with what Katniss would want. And it's a form of like solidarity between the districts that the capital will like not like or allow anyway. But like, that doesn't matter. He makes the perfect gesture. And at some point earlier, like, Haymitch has said to Katniss that she could do a lot worse than Peeta. And like in this moment, she reflects on that and she says she couldn't actually imagine doing any better than Peeta. And when she kisses him here, it doesn't feel forced. This is what Katniss appreciates. It's not Gale's violence at all. It isn't Gale's rebel attitude. It's something so heartwarming as caring for others. And that is exactly what Peeta represents within Katniss herself. Mind just blown as like, oh, here's the big point. Gale and Peeta are two sides of Katniss, and she's got to pick which is more valuable to her. The violent side, which would be Gale, the hunting and the I guess the more masculine side, or the softer, more caring side. And it's very obvious that she prefers the safety of Peeta than Gale.
Yeah, and I guess it's just that thing where she spent her whole life fighting and trying to survive, that she hasn't really, as we mentioned earlier, like looked at the more frivolous side of things, which I guess would be Peeta, would be the softness, would be the care, would be the consideration. I think, that two sides of the same coin, that's a very interesting point. Be interested to see what other people think about that as well. Yeah.
I'm loving picking this book apart because my English Lang Lit A level is having a blast right now, pulling apart all the subtext of this book. But this bit with this thing with Peeta and Katniss, like the first time we even see Peeta in the entire book, so this is obviously Catching Fire. The first time we see Peeta in Catching Fire, Katniss admits the sound of his voice makes her feel guilt and sadness and fear, which, like, honestly, fair enough. Because Peeta is now inextricably linked to the trauma of going into the Hunger Games. Because without her going in, she wouldn't have had cause to speak to him again at all. And I think without her going into the game, she never would have. She would have just left Peeta at the side as part of herself she didn't want to recognize, but probably should have. But she also says that his voice makes her feel something else. Longing. His voice makes her feel longing, which is so, so powerful, because like if you can still want something or someone that reminds you of a very deep-seated trauma that you didn't suffer at their hands, granted, but they still remind you of that situation you were in together. If you can still feel longing for that person, even though it means facing up to all that trauma and damage, all the survival mechanisms you now have to unlearn because of that, like that's such a strong emotion to get to that point.
Just like Peeta makes it so easy to like him, and I know there are people out there who don't like him. I think I don't understand, but like,
I don't understand.
Because he respects her and her decisions after she convinces herself she's going to choose Gale after he's been whipped. Peeta even says to her that he cannot hold Katniss to the things she said and did in the games to keep them alive. When Katniss mentions to Peeta that they should run away, Peeta just assumes that Gale will be going with them. Like, Gale does the exact opposite, as we discussed in the last episode. He throws a bit of a tantrum. Like, he gets passive-aggressive and literally throws a tantrum when he thinks Peeta will be going with them, and kind of turns into the pick-me boy. So to see the stark kind of contrast between the two, especially in that discussion, really shows the type of person Peeta is.
Yeah, Peeta is just like, of course Gale will be coming. You care about him. Like, it makes sense. Of course. Like, it's just taken for granted. He just knows that's what's going to happen. And he puts zero pressure on her. And this is like why even within her confusion, we still get these heartwarming moments between Katniss and Peeta, because they're sleeping in each other's arms to ward against their nightmares. Like, Katniss is able to seek comfort in Peeta without it being tantamount to a confession of undying love. Like, he never assumes anything and just gives her the space to work things out. And
bless him.
He's so sweet. He's just so genuinely good. And then even his nightmares, his nightmares actually revolve around losing Katniss. Like, can we just take a moment to appreciate how adorable that is? Katniss is traumatized by the arena, by like threats
as you would
from
be.
Snow. Yeah, obviously. And like Peeta soothes her back to sleep every time she wakes up screaming in terror. And then like she asks Peeta why he never wakes her. And I'm gonna cry because it's so cute. But he pretty much says, like, since his dreams were about losing her, when he wakes up and realizes she's asleep in his arms, everything is okay again. It's just, oh, it's
Yeah.
so cute.
Yeah, it's very
and
cute.
it's just so genuinely good because he's just like, you know what, I can be strong for the both of us. I can figure out my own nightmares and I will help you figure out yours too. But then, like,
Mhm.
Katniss says she feels guilty about his feelings for her and she's not like really reciprocating them, but she isn't lying to him. She's not pretending she feels more than she does.
Mm.
He knows where he stands, right? And this is a necessity for both of them to sleep through the night. Like, because at this point they're either on the Victor tour or they're getting ready for the second arena. Like,
Mhm.
either way, they need sleep to handle any of this that's being thrown at them. And
Mhm.
she could admit this like weakness to him about these nightmares. And they work together to help each other without having it necessarily mean anything has been decided one way or the other. Gale could never.
But yeah, Gale could never.
Gale could never.
Yeah.
Gale wouldn't be like, oh, you're sleeping on my arms. When's the wedding?
God. And at this point, right, Peeta and Katniss are fake engaged.
Yeah.
And it was Peter's idea, right? Like,
Yeah.
he knew they would have to be together forever to get on the Capitol's good side. And then he just jumped on board, like, with the plan. Like, Katniss isn't screwing with his emotions here. Like, he's forgiven her for that and realizes this is just going to be the way that it is and still puts no pressure on her.
And for this goodness that comes out of Peeta, like, Katniss is willing to die in the second arena to keep Peeta alive.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And then when they're in the Quarter Quell arena, Peter shows his goodness again with the female morphling. Like, this scene gets me every single time. Like, obviously, female morphling, she jumps in front of the monkey mutt to save Peter's life, and she is dying from the obvious injuries. And he starts taking care of her, like holding her, using his painting knowledge to talk about the colours of the sky and the sunset. And after noticing that the morphling spent most of their time during training at the paint station, he kind of uses that to distract her and talk about the colours of the
Yeah.
sunset. And he tries to give her the most peaceful death that he can. And he's just such a good person. And Katniss, like, as she says over and over again, can't help but see that. Like, she says that he's probably the only good person who's ever won the games.
Yeah, she does. And like, even before all of this happens, like, I think she makes the comment that he's the only good person who ever won the games, like, before
Yeah.
she even sees him with the morphling, before any of that has occurred. I think she's witnessed him like in the training center, like, with them and having him talk to everyone and stuff. But even before this happens in the arena, like, we have witnessed Katniss's reaction to when Peter dies, when he walks into the force field. Like, she is so protective of his body that she doesn't even want Finnick touching him, not understanding that Finnick is trying to save his life to give him
Yeah.
CPR.
Yeah.
Like, her reaction is heart-wrenching. Like, she is distraught and she is so protective. Like, if that isn't love, I don't know what is.
Like, which leads back to the question of, like, what decision is there really to make here?
Like, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
we'll talk about Gale in a moment, but like, I want to address here something that we've obviously brought up in previous episodes, and the fact that she is being told who to love. She might well be realizing that she has feelings for Peter, but the Capitol is also telling her to have feelings for Peter and be with him, not just for the time being. Like, she will now need to be with him for the rest of her life, because that is just the nature of being a mentor in the games. She will now
Yeah.
be wheeled out every single year like clockwork. But then don't forget, like, even in this free time that they've supposedly had, because the concept would originally be for a Victor to leave the do like the initial like coming home party stuff, do the victory tour, and then do the Hunger Games again. Like you have 6 months between them. She hasn't even had that because let's prep Katniss for the wedding. Let's give her dresses. Let's do this. Let's do that. She doesn't even have a 6-month break between.
No break. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if that's how this has happened from the very start of their like Hunger Games couple relationship, says in like air quotes, because that is how they'll be marketed by the Capitol. So even if we say she's wheeled out once a year for the rest of her life, it won't be once a year. It will be like, well, look, Katniss is pregnant with their first kid. Let's do a whole 9-month segment and give her a baby clothing line and everything. Like they will literally have to live their entire lives around this. And one of the few, like you mentioned before, one of the few freedoms that they have in the districts is choosing who to love and marry. And if they even want to do that at all in the first place, like they have decided everything else for you in terms of like where you live, what job you'll do. Like you can't emigrate.
Yeah.
You can't have any choices over a career. You can't even choose what food to put on your table. Because they control what goes into your district. And now your last freedom of whether you get married at all or marry someone is being taken away from you. Wouldn't you push back against that? Like, even for the sake of being performative about it, just to prove that you weren't doing it because they wanted you to, wouldn't you just like push that back as much as you physically could?
I guess, just as much as you can without dying.
Yeah.
Or as much as you can without getting into serious trouble. Yeah.
Because you'd want to prove that they don't have complete control over you. Because at this point, like, and I've said it before multiple times, that she's just a puppet. Well, now she's not a puppet to quell rebellion. Now she's a puppet for every single life choice she could ever make. Like, it feels like someone's going to tell her when to use the bathroom and what time to go to bed. And it feels like she's like a sim being controlled in a video game. But then Katniss takes it like one step further when she's talking about the thing between her and Peeta being 2 victors. Because she talks about how the victors' children get reaped far too frequently for it to be a coincidence or pure chance. Because there's always a big like kerfuffle, a big like parade around like, oh, this victor's child has been reaped. Will they live up to their parents' expertise and skill? And will they do as well as their mom or dad did? So she wonders if Snow will insist on Katniss and Peeta having kids. And then knowing that if they had kids under this system, they will almost 100% be going into the arena and most likely die.
Yeah.
And then she would have to mentor her own child as well.
Surely there should be some sort of rule about that. Like that just doesn't seem
like
right. Anyway,
there's no incentive to win, is there? There's really no incentive to win, apart from your own life. But like that's another reason for why she doesn't give in to being with Peeta. And I think these are pretty damn good reasons. It's not simply I don't know how I feel. I don't know whether I want to pick Peeta or Gale. I don't want to do what Snow wants to. That's probably part of it, because of course you don't want to do what someone's telling you to when they're telling you all the choices you could possibly have made and they're convincing you to do what they want. But her whole thing between never wanting to be a parent to get married is because she doesn't want kids in the arena. And now she's pretty much signed a death warrant for her kids if she gets married to Peeta. Like, it is so much more complicated. And I think these are all pretty damn good reasons to be a bit reticent about being with someone, because it is just so much darker and disturbing than it appears on the surface level.
Especially for a 17-year-old.
Yeah. And I've got to give her a due for that as well, because she is dealing with a lot at a very, very young age. And I honestly do kind of think that if she wasn't this reluctant to be in a relationship and figure out her feelings, I think I'd be judging her more for willingly leaping into such a dangerous, terrible situation.
Yeah.
Without thoughts, the consequences.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like we'd be judging her for not properly thinking it through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'd be the ones going, this is why you shouldn't. This is what is going on. Like, and it will protect her. We know Katniss doesn't do well with emotions, but the longer it takes her to figure this out, to figure out exactly how she feels for Peeta, that is kind of a protection as well. Because if she was to leave that first arena and realize that she loved him, like deeply loved him, and then also be faced with all these potential consequences for being with him, that would be even harder to deal with. Because at least right now she has a reason to pull back. At least right now she is conflicted and isn't fully invested. If she was fully invested in being with Peeta and knew that these were all the consequences to doing it, that would be so much harder to pull back. That would probably tear her apart to pull back from that. So, I don't think we can discuss the potential of Katniss and Gale without bringing up the kiss in the woods again.
Do we have to?
We have to because we've discussed how messed up this kiss was and how neither of them really bring it up again for a couple of months on end, or like even repeat it until shit hits the fan. But I need to bring it up because I want to talk about how Katniss describes the kiss. So she describes his lips as warm and his hands as easily entrapping her.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah, none of that screams, I'm happy with this to me.
Yeah.
I've had those kisses and they aren't ones you really want repeating.
No, you don't. But I guess this is kind of the issue, right? Everyone has always expected them, or at least she thinks they have expected her and Gale to get together. Like, it's a small town, small village. They're like childhood friends, essentially. But Gale is hot-headed and impulsive and gets in trouble. He's like Katniss, but I don't think that's a good thing. And I guess this kind of plays into your kind of point of Gale and Peeta being two sides of Katniss.
Yeah.
So Gale kind of plays into that hot-headed and impulsive side. And Katniss kisses Gale out of sympathy, as we've talked about last episode, because she wants to experience some good emotions in the crap storm whirlwind she has found herself in. Like, she literally says she feels so desperately lonely, but Gale's love always seems to come with conditions. And neither of those things are good. Neither of those things are healthy. Neither of those things are green flags, Katniss. Run very far, run very far away. Like, she's tried to convince herself that she is in love with Gale because there's this platonic type of pressure, as I mentioned. Yeah. And she has trepidations about Peeta because she relates Peeta to the Capitol and she's so angry at the Capitol and, rightly so. She cares about Gale and doesn't want to lose him as a friend. So once Gale kisses her when she gets back from the games, I guess she feels this pressure to choose Gale and convince herself she likes him like that when there really wasn't a choice to be made in the first place.
Yeah, I think Gale's kind of the easy choice in that situation, because if you are going to go with Capitol versus District 12, effectively, because that's what Peeta represents to her. Peeta is Capitol to her now. That's the association. Gale is home and who she was before. Gale feels like the easy choice here, I guess. To go into that a little bit further, he's the easy choice, but he's not the right choice. He's not the true choice. Something that occurred to me during reading Catching Fire was that in this book, so to explain the situation with the Capitol and the rebels and to talk to Gale without Capitol eyes and ears around, because she's already at this point had Snore basically say, I know kiss.
Which is really creepy. He's 80-year-old guy, inappropriate. So many levels.
But obviously she's now like, how does he know? He must have eyes and ears everywhere. We were just outside of town limits. They weren't in the middle of the woods. So she takes him as far away as she can, right? And she leaves him directions on how to get to the lake. She has never taken him to the lake that her dad used to take her to. And she even says that some of the wildlife there, is easy pickings because they so rarely get disturbed. So, she's taken him on this massive, 2 or 3 hour long hike out of the way to get to a safe space. She says safe space and air quotes again. Um, but and it makes up for the fact that they would miss all that time actually hunting. Um, but the wildlife there is easy picking. She comes away with like quite a lot from
uh,
that easily enough. So in hard times, like they could have justified the trip in the months where like it got harder to feed themselves. There will have been issues where wildlife was scarcer, where they couldn't forage as much because of the weather conditions or whatever. But she still never took Gale. When you could have justified the reason was not about sharing the space with him, but also survival.
mm,
So why did she never take Gale? I personally, I think it might be because he would like corrupt the place for her and ruin the memory because the memory was with her dad and it's peaceful, and Gale is the known hothead and spends a lot of time on their hunting trips, like talking about rebellion and things.
mm,
But like in contrast, her and Peeta work on that book of plants together, the
yeah.
family book of plants that I think her dad added to or dad helped her with that she then added to the family book. So like it's not a case of she's not happy to share things associated with her family with other people because she'll happily share that with Peter, but not with Gale. She needs to
Mm,
have a very sort of specific pressing reason to take him to her lake. And
mm,
I truly think that if you were interested in someone in any way, shape, or form, even if you were really their best friend, and you wanted to share a part of yourself with them, even platonically, not even romantically, you'd take him, right? You'd have a good day and you'd take him and you'd go swimming or something.
yeah. Yeah.
But she keeps that lake private from Gale for as long as she can. Why?
Well, Katniss does even admit to herself that when she thinks about her love for Gale,
Yeah.
she's not really sure how she feels. And like in contrast, I did want to mention the bit in the Court of Quell arena where they are sat on the beach after they've kind of found Beatty and Wyrus, Joanna, and everybody. And Katniss and Peeta are kissing. And
Mhm.
Peeta has tried to convince her with the locket that she needs to be the one to make it home. That Katniss is this entire world, so she has to be the one to go home. But because she has a mother and Prim and Gale. Like that's the photos he has inside the locket. Not him, Gale. Like even he expects her to choose Gale. And even in that moment, still seems to honour the fact that she might choose Gale. But
Yeah.
during this kiss, Katniss remarks that she experienced what she calls a different kind of hunger. That's such a powerful word, right? She's been hungry her entire life, right? Bloody thing's called the Hunger Games. Like
Mhm.
she has been hungry her entire life. When she kisses Peeta in that moment, she experiences a different kind of hunger. And I guess she's hungry for Peeta. She's hungry for that love, for that comfort, that care, that understanding, that
Yeah.
relationship she has never had before or allowed herself to have before.
And we've just kind of like proven there, like she never has had these feelings about Gale ever at any point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to use the word hungry again because I'm now playing Duran Duran's Hungry Like a Wolf in my head
Right.
nonstop. Uh, so forgive me if I'm a little bit distracted from this point onwards. But like we have just proven like that is probably why she hasn't taken him to the lake because
Yeah.
she's never felt that depth of feeling about him to want to share that with him at all. And I think the word itself, hunger, is so telling because she like really gets into this little kissing session that
Uh,
they have got going on. She's
yeah.
so into this, even though it's being broadcast to the entire nation. She's completely glazed over that bit, doesn't care anymore. It's another instance of her proving that Peeta's something she can't give up. Her life, yeah, she will happily sacrifice her life
Mm,
for Peeta. And Gale, yeah, I think she would give Gale up. Like,
mhm.
if she thinks about it long enough, even at this point in the book, I think she could easily give him up. And this is
But yeah.
before everything that happens in Mockingjay.
But I guess it's so hard for her to think through all of this. Like the situation, as we mentioned, isn't very black and white, like at all.
No.
Like she sways towards Gale because of social pressures and not wanting to lose her best friend, but she sways towards Peeta because of this hunger, and she's so scared to love him because it means fitting into the Capitol's plan for her life, which makes Gale repeat the cycle of being shitty with her because of the Capitol's influence. in her life. It's like this perfect storm.
Yeah, because she is now so linked to the capital. He's then shitty at her because he doesn't like the capital. And the whole thing goes round and round and round. And it just proves to him how much of a red flag he can be. And this is something we pointed out in the last episode, I think, because Katniss gets to the point where she stops trying to protect Gale from those harsh truths of Snow's threats, right? And she comes clean with everything that is happening. And then Gale goes off on one about Peeta. Okay. And then Katniss stops him and spells it out to him.
Like
she literally says, like, she cannot think of anyone in a romantic sense because all she has the mental space for is being scared and worried about her own survival. And this is at this lake house. The first time she is sharing this part of her soul with him, he is going off on one about the capital and Peeta. And she has to spell it out that she can't pick between the two of them because she is concerned for her own life and her family's life and his life. She's saving his life as well because he's also being threatened, but there's no room left in her brain to figure any of this stuff out. And she says, like, if she could get away somewhere, away from it all, maybe she could be different. And she says it like it's a bad thing. And I'm like, no, girl, I think you actually have your priorities straight here. I think Gale's the one who doesn't. But she doesn't know for sure if she could, like, be different. She doesn't know if she could love him the way he wants her to love him. Like, she is entirely honest with him. And he still has another hissy fit. She has been more honest here with how she feels with Gale than she has been with Peeta.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think Peeta needs it explaining to him in simple terms and small words like Gale does. Peeta just gets it, right?
Yeah.
And some of that is probably down to, like, him having experienced it all with her. But I think the majority of it is because of who he is as a person. Like, in this conversation with Gale, Katniss hasn't said she isn't choosing him. She hasn't said that I'm not picking you, I'm picking Peeta. She's just said, I can't think about this now. I have more pressing matters to attend to. And he still spits his dummy out like the child he is. What the hell, Gale? Genuinely, what the hell? What is wrong with you? But before we move on to a verdict and our next section, all that kind of stuff, before we move on, I want to go back a little bit to the moments after Gale has been whipped. And I want to hear what you think of this, because this is where a lot of her supposed feelings for Gale stem from, right? I think she just witnessed her best friend being flogged so many times, like, that he is unconscious. And then this is the closest she has come to losing Gale in the same way she has almost lost Peeta in the game. And then jealousy kind of rears its ugly head, because Madge brings over the morphling for Gale from her mother's supply because her mother has the headaches. And then she puts herself into Gale's shoes. If it was Gale who went into the games and she had to watch him cozy up to another girl in a fake romance plot, and she watched everything that happened to her happen to him instead, she can kind of understand why he's acting the way he is. And she realizes how much anger she would hold for him and his imaginary fiance in that situation. Like, what does this make you think of? Like, what type of jealousy? I already know, but I want to see if, like, you pick up on what I've picked up on as well. What's your, like, initial first thought? Where is that jealousy actually coming from?
My initial thought, but this might be, like, completely wrong, was kind of like, if you had a best friend that you've grown up with, kind of regardless of gender, and they go off and they get in a relationship, whether that be real or not, like, say you are, like, that young, you're at school, and you feel jealous because someone else has something you don't, and someone else has, like, happiness in a relationship, and you don't, and you kind of, you want that, and you don't know how to get it, and you wish you had it.
To me, it's giving similar. It's giving Bessie gets first boyfriend, and now I'm jealous they don't have as much time to spend with me and can't be my entire support system anymore. Like, it ain't giving actual love. from
Yeah.
either side. To me, it's like, look, like, it's not even a shiny new toy. To me, it's like, this is the person who has been the closest to me in the struggles that I have dealt with, and now they won't have time for me. That's what I'm getting from it. I'm not getting any romantic love at all. I'm just getting, oh, my best friend now doesn't have time for me. How can I make them make time for me? Oh, I be with them every day, every second of the day. That's what it's giving me.
Okay. Yeah.
And that would usually be, I guess, in our world, like probably like 14, 15 kind of scenario. But usually in the real world, you would have more than one friend. So one friend might get a boyfriend, or they might let you third wheel, or it might be a case of you go on double dates because they've got a friend, or you go out as a group now instead, and you've got another person who you can spend time with. That's not the case that they've got. They only had each other and their close
Yeah.
families.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what we would have experienced aged about 13, 14 is like what Gale is now experiencing as a immature grown adult. But this is the thing that drives her into the rebellion idea, right? Because she's sat with Gale and he's been whipped and he's got the snow coat on, and she's worried for him, and she's thinking about the berries. And if she held them out to save Peeta, she is a selfish airhead. But if she purposely held them out with the intention of defying the capital, then she is someone of worth.
Yeah.
And this is where we get back to Katniss equating Gale with rebellion and Peeta with capital control. And it's more than just this is like word association, what it makes her think of. It's if choosing your boyfriend means choosing the regime that controls your life, which is kind of how she's taken it, how can she then choose Peeta?
Yeah.
So she chooses Gale for this like small moment in time because she's choosing to rebel. Up to this point, she is just like, I don't know what to do with the capital. Let's just try and acquiesce to their demands. And then they whip Gale, and it's the turning point. She has to face some harsh truths. And then she picks rebellion. But to pick rebellion means to pick Gale in her mind.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know what you think of this one, but what really hammers this home to me is she has a nightmare, has another nightmare, and this is after the victory tour. So she wishes Peeta was there to hold her. And then she says she remembers that she isn't supposed to wish for that anymore because she's chosen Gale and the rebellion. And I don't know whether you've experienced it as well, but I think we've all loved the idea of who we would be if we were with someone versus loving who they actually are as a person. Like, I think that's what Katniss is feeling here. Not just that she can't have Peeta and rebellion, but if she was with Gale, he would make her the true rebel, and she wants to be a rebel. And if she's with Gale, that will make her more than what she is.
Yeah, I guess it's she now sees Gale as the rebel, as the symbol of rebellion. So it's like, well, I can't pick Peeta, like you said, because that's choosing the regime and the people that are hurting my friends and hurting my family and like ultimately hurting me. So how can I do that? So I can't, like, I only really can pick Gale. So I'll pick Gale and I have to like stop having feelings for Peeta, and I'll just really focus on Gale, and then I'll become the rebel, and then that will be like the right thing to do. Like, I think that's what her head's trying to figure out, but that's not the right thing for her.
No, like that is the way that you lose yourself. That is the way that you no longer recognize who you become by being the person that someone wants you to be. And I think that's Gale all over. Gale doesn't want Katniss as she is. He wants Katniss as she could be. And I'm gonna read you in the quote in a minute, and I want your response to it, because going down this same like vibe of, are you picking up what I'm picking up? We're gonna flash forward to the morning after she has chosen Gale and rebellion, and she feels a bit bad because she's yelled at her mum to like help Gale, and she was hurting him and all this kind of stuff. And her mum goes, "It's fine. Like, that's simply what people do when their loved ones are in pain, or like when someone they love is in pain." And this is where she starts sort of questioning the whole do I love Gale thing
Mhm.
again. I think it's the bit
Mhm.
you mentioned earlier specifically, but I
Yeah.
wanted to bring up this quote from that section. So Katniss says, I did kiss him last night in a moment when my emotions were running so high, but I'm sure he doesn't remember it. Does he? I hope not. If he does, everything will just get more complicated, and I really can't think about kissing when I've got a rebellion to incite.
Right.
Katie, your first response is that quote. Go.
Well, first of all, my first thought is like it's like when you're at uni and you've gone out drinking and you've for the purposes of this podcast, I'm just gonna say I've never done this. And you've kissed someone for whatever reason, and then the next morning you've been like, oh, I really hope they don't remember that. I don't want to remember that. I really hope they don't remember it. That's awkward. But I've got all this other stuff I need to do. Like I need to do my degree. I need to do this. I need to do that. And then you're like, oh, well, then clearly like me kissing them wasn't that important. I'm really what I want is this other thing. Maybe I just equate this person to this thing because when I'm with them, I'm always studying. And when I'm with them, I'm doing blah, blah, blah. Like I said, this is not real life. This is all hypothetical.
It's hypothetical.
And it's just like you associate that person with that thing. So you've kissed them in a time of Delulu or whatever.
Yeah.
And then afterwards you're like, oh, well, I think I did. Yeah. Can I take that back? Please
and thank you. Can we just forget that ever happened and move on and never bring it up ever again? Like that first kiss that Gale and Katniss shared. Let's just also never bring this one up either. Yeah, my first response was kind of like, when have you ever actually kissed someone you have feelings for and then want them to forget about it? Because usually if you've kissed someone and it's been a good kiss and you've even drunk done it on a whim, but you've done it because you like them, not because you associate them with who you should be or want to be. Like, and you actually want to be in a relationship with them.
Yeah.
You usually don't want them to forget that it ever happened.
Yeah, if you see a relationship with them, you see a life with them, you see a path forward with them, you're not gonna want them to forget.
No, you're really not. Like, at no part of you goes, oh, dear God, that should never happen. Like, part of you might be like, oh, dear God, where does this leave us now? I hope he brings it up again. But it's not. It's not a, please, dear God, he must forget that immediately. If you have feelings for them. No. Even if you don't think you will act on it, even if you don't think in this moment in time there's a space for you, you're still happy it happened if you genuinely like them. Even hammered, even like in a bad space, you're kind of like, this is a bright spot in the day. It's a very specific set of circumstances that make you wish they forgot about it entirely. But my second point was also, she says, I'm going to read this bit again. I really can't think about kissing when I've got a rebellion to incite. Honey, I think if you need to think about kissing and it ain't an instinct, you aren't kissing the right person.
Yeah, that's very true. So obviously we know early on in kind of Peeta and Katniss's relationship in the arena, she was obviously thinking about kissing. It was like that a conscious act, like a thing she was having to do.
Yeah.
But we know in Catching Fire, she does start to have those unconscious moments of kissing and affection. Like they start, and that's where I'm like, Catching Fire is when she really starts to see Peeta in a different light, develop those proper feelings for him. And I think, if she's doing that with Gale, she shouldn't be doing that. It's like if you're doing something and you can't tell your best friend about it, then you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. Are you speaking from experience there, Katie?
No, I'm just saying. I've told you everything, so I've got nothing to hide.
That's true. I do know everything.
Exactly.
For better or for worse.
I'm just saying. So if she feels like, let's say her best friend is probably what, Madge?
Yeah.
Other than
she
Gale?
Can't tell Madge because Madge clearly has the hots for Gale.
Oh, it's very confusing.
So she can't tell Madge that she's kissed Gale. Like, Gale has no one to talk it out with. Gale hasn't got, like, a girl bestie they can actually have a conversation with. She's got Madge, but she can't tell Madge this. She can't tell anyone any of this because it's all, like, capital propaganda and rebellion.
She can't even, like, hash it out over a glass of wine.
No, she can't.
No wonder she's confused.
I know. Sometimes you need, like, particularly, I think this was a uni thing for me, was like, let's just go and get a box of wine from Lidl because why not? And we didn't have wine glasses, so we drank it out of mugs.
Yeah.
And let's just go and order the greasiest pizza imaginable, which we know they don't have. We've had this whole discussion. They don't have pizza. in District 12.
I've never seen one anyway.
Never seen one. And then just lie on someone's bed, get hammered, and just talk about everything and the meaning of life. And then the next morning, you might have a headache, but life feels better and more manageable. And she can't even do that.
God, it's depressing, isn't it?
It is depressing when you put it like that. When you put it like that, and she can't go to Wetherspoons and get 2 pitchers of cocktail for what? Is it £15 now? I don't know.
It's
At one point, it was a
ridiculous price
tenner.
now.
It's insane.
Ridiculous price now.
But she can't go and sit in a Wetherspoons on a night out with 2 pitchers of cocktail and talk about boys
Or girls.
or girls.
Okay, so Katniss is asking if she's stringing 2 guys along here. And I'm not really sure we can say that she's really stringing anyone along. Like, Katniss loves both Gale and Peeta, as we have discussed, but in different ways. Like, my overall view of these relationships is that for Gale, she feels platonic love, even though she tries to convince herself that it's more than that. And for Peeta, she does feel romantic love. It's a safe and caring kind of love, but she's confused about that because it comes on the back of the Capital's control. Like, we will discuss this more in our later Mockingjay episodes, but she can actually survive without Gale. But she cannot survive, at least emotionally, without Peeta.
No.
Like, she needs Peeta, our emotionally mature king.
I mean, to be fair though, like, anyone in comparison to Gale
is emotionally
mature.
True.
Would.
Yeah.
But, and this is something I will probably bring up again, like, as we start adding more and more points to the brewing Peeta versus Gale big debate that we will get to in Mockingjay. But Peeta really is the emotional mature king. Like I said, no one can really, like, compared to Gale, anyone would be. But Peeta's a walking green flag, let's be honest. You're completely right with that. And I think Gale being the emotionally immature baby is probably one of the biggest factors that makes this, like, love triangle. And I'm putting that in quotes as well, quote unquote love triangle, because is it really a love triangle? But it makes it drag it out for as long as it does. Because, you have this external pressure from 12 and then Snow, like, pulling Katniss in 2 different directions, because you've got the District 12 idea of, well, she should always have been with Gale, and then Snow pushing her to Peeta. But you have Peeta on one side, who admits he loves her and puts no pressure on her to choose him at all. He says his piece, steps back, and is like, I'm here if you figure it out. Right? They are tied together for the rest of their lives anyway, like, regardless of whether it's real or fake or whatever. But Peter's feelings aren't fickle. Like, he will take what he can get, and he will fully leave the ball in her court. And then on the other side of this, the big issue is the message that Gale is giving Katniss, because he is giving Katniss this idea of he wants all or nothing.
Yeah.
And it goes further than not letting Peeta come on their little rebellion runaway scheme idea. With him, it seems to be either she's with him romantically or she loses his friendship entirely. Like, even though he never says the words out loud as far as I'm aware, at least not up to this point, he's never said, it's me or him. You can only ever have one of us in your life, and the other has to be cut out completely. It's the message that she is getting subliminally. So, like, anytime we sway towards Gale, it's driven by the idea of losing him completely being too much for her. And this is pretty much tantamount to Katniss for a family member dying. Like, she doesn't handle loss well. She can't handle the idea of him not being there. But Katniss is pretty much being told that if she wants Gale at all, she has to choose Gale. Gale's reaction to Peeta even coming on their little, like, escape mission, like I said, like, it tells us that, and to Katniss too, that this isn't a choice between who to marry. It's a choice of who to keep forever. Because we know Gale will leave for good if she marries Peeta. We know Gale will decide, nah, I'm not. You had your chance, you blew it, I'm off. But you can also bet Gale's selfish ass that he'd manipulate Katniss into cutting out Peeta if Katniss chose Gale anyway. So
Yeah.
he's the big problem here. Peeta, on the other hand, is like, she's like, you know what, like, if you pick him, that's fine. I'll still be here. I will still be your support. But to Gale's, me or him, you pick, other one's gone, and you don't get a chance. And this screws with Katniss so much, because since the Court of Quell was announced, Katniss remarks like her and Peeta have been more like trainer and trainee than lovers. Like, they're not even really friends because they've been so focused on surviving together. But then when they get on the train and nothing she does with Peeta will get back to Gale, she'll never see Gale again. Her actions will never hurt Gale again.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to let go of Peeta from their first hug. And now she doesn't have to. She can do whatever she wants, whatever feels right to her. It just highlights again that she has fully picked up on this idea of Gale being the problem. Because she also knows that any reaction, any sort of kiss or whatever she had with Gale, Peeta will just take it in his stride. Gale is acting like he would rather die than have her save him if she is with Peeta. So how can she make a choice that feels right to her? You can care about someone enough to see them live like a happy and healthy life and not want to be with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Gale won't accept that at all. He won't accept that she doesn't love him that way. And he's perfectly then happy to do things that basically spite her because she hasn't picked him.
Yeah.
And that is so fucked up.
That's really major red flag, major personality problem, especially she's meant to be his best friend. He's meant to be like in love with her. Sometimes you just gotta let things be. Like, you can't do that.
It's so like that. I think that particular point there is probably the thing that really like sums their whole dynamic up, really, because that is Peeta all over. Peeta is, you know what, I love you, my feelings for you are genuine, I just want you to be happy, I am willing to die to save your life so you can be happy with another man. And Gale is like, what do you mean you won't pick me? I'm your best friend. We have 6 years worth of history together. And yet, you know what? I'm going to screw those 6 years of history over, and I'm going to make our friendship into an entire farce because you are entertaining the idea of someone else. When the reason you're entertaining the idea of someone else is because you survived televised death match is the best way of putting the Hunger Games. It is. You survived a fight to the death with this guy, and you're being manipulated by our government into being with him. But you know what? You should screw the government and come be with me instead, and we will risk our lives together. Why? If you genuinely cared about her, would you not just be like, pick him, go with the safe guy? At least I know how I feel about you. That will never change. At least now you will live. But no, not a thing. We will get onto our verdict in a minute, but I have a question for you. I have a moment, and I couldn't fit it into any other Mockingjay episode, so I'm putting it here. It does make sense, I promise. But do we think Katniss's mother is Team Gale or Team Peeta? So when Katniss and Peeta are greeted at the train station, arriving back after the first Hunger Games, some reporters are like gathered around, and some reporter asks Katniss's mother what she thinks of Katniss's new boyfriend. And her mother's comment is something like, Peeta's the perfect example of what a young man should be, but Katniss isn't old enough to have a boyfriend yet in the first place. And then she looks at Peeta, like gives him like a very pointed kind of stare, and Peeta drops Katniss's hand and moves away. And Katniss is thankful for this because it gives them a chance to be a bit more reserved than they had been in the Capitol. She doesn't have to think as much about like faking the romance with him, because at this point they've just come back from the Capitol.
Yeah.
And she's not quite entirely sure what's going on. And she's also happy with that. They don't need to be as coupley. What do we think her mother's thinking here? Is she simply trying to like play up to the cameras and just wants them to take things slower, but she's on board with Peeta? Or is she trying to put a distance between Katniss and Peeta for Gale's sake?
I honestly think that Katniss's mum would probably be Team Gale just because, like we mentioned, that familial pressure, that like societal pressure, and the fact that she's seen them grow up and the Gale's always been around, and that's kind of what she's used to. And like there has been kind of this expectation that the parents have kind of thought that Gale and Katniss would end up together. So at least I think at that point, she was probably doing it because she might have cottoned on that Katniss was in some sort of ruse to save both of their lives in the Hunger Games. And in her position as the mother, she was able to say something like that.
Okay. So I actually think the opposite. I think
Okay.
her mother would be Team Peeta, but I
Okay.
think she's putting the space there because she knows her daughter. She knows her daughter. She knows that her daughter doesn't want to be with anyone, and obviously they've got this ruse up. But I think she's probably also aware that she can put the space between them just to give Katniss time to reassess her own feelings. And I think, for me, I think my theory with this comes from the fact that, okay, so her mother is merchant
Yeah.
in the first place, so I don't think she has anything against Peeta for that reason. But yeah, we know that she's seen Katniss and Gale together a lot, but that also means that she knows Gale, and she's probably also actively aware of how rebel inclined Gale is. And don't forget, she's spent the years trying to tell Katniss, like, not to spout the rebel shit,
Yes,
like,
that's
within
true.
prying
Yeah.
ears. So I think she'd prefer Katniss with a good quiet boy like Peeta, but she's giving her daughter the time to like make up her own mind. I don't think she'd be type of mother to like push her one way or the other,
Yeah.
but I think she would be the type of mother to be like, I have a preference. I'm gonna help you figure it out, give you a bit of space, but I can't see how she would know. I know Hazel is Gale's mother would be Team Katniss. Team Katniss and Gale. Like I
Yeah.
feel like, but that's because she will be biased about her own child.
Yeah.
Whereas Katniss's mother will probably have a bit more of a objective kind of view
Yeah,
on
I mean,
Gale.
we know her mother wouldn't push her towards one or the other because I imagine when she met Katniss's father and she
She
obviously used to
probably
be
had that.
merchant, that she probably had that from her parents who were like, no, don't
Yeah.
do that. Like, marry someone from the merchant side. And I guess because they thought they were protecting her, trying to make sure she still had a good life and all of that kind of thing. But I think she probably knows that that doesn't work.
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't work. So why try?
It's just an interesting question that I came up with because I couldn't figure out what her intention was behind that comment. And I was like, ooh, okay, here's another opportunity for a random theory from me.
I guess
But it's interesting.
yeah. I would also be interested to know what other people think. Like, do you think Katniss's mom would be Team Peeta or Team Gale, or do you think she doesn't really care at all? And that's also an option.
It's quite possible. She might not give one either way. So, Katie, what is your verdict? Is Katniss the asshole for stringing two guys along while she makes a decision?
We're going off kind of the percentage scale, which I think we've had to start doing for these characters because Panem is just so messed up. I think Katniss is probably like a 35-40% asshole. I think because I've obviously kind of been saying that I don't think she's necessarily really stringing them along because I think a lot of what Gale reacts to is kind of misconstrued, and Gale puts so much pressure on her. Like they weren't even in a relationship. She's never expressed feelings for him.
It's not like she's cheated on him or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's like tried to get his foot in the door after the games and kind of being rejected, and now is kind of throwing a bit of a hissy fit.
Wobbler.
Like
Yeah.
I don't think there's really a decision to be made. I think that Gale just gets himself involved in it and keeps getting himself hurt. Like he really should just
bow out.
Take the hint.
What do you think Katniss should have done in this situation? And if she's a 35% asshole, how could she have been less of an asshole?
Go to therapy.
So, like, this has been a really interesting one for me because I'm going to disagree with you. So,
Mm-hmm.
when we first came up with the idea of this being the question in the first place, like, I thought my stance would have been like 50% asshole, like, because I couldn't fault her for not knowing what she felt, but there
Yeah.
was still like two guys hovering around her. And I think that like aligns with what I felt the first time I read these books and what a lot of people probably think, because I was like, girl, just pick one and have done with it.
Yeah.
But now I don't think she's stringing anyone along
Mm-hmm.
at all. I think Peeta is totally understanding of the chaos she's been thrown into
Yeah.
and how hard it is to navigate all of that. Like, this takes us to a whole year after the first games, and like she still hasn't figured it out by a
Mm-hmm.
year later, which
Mm-hmm.
seems like a long time on the surface, which adds to the idea of stringing these guys along. But
Mm-hmm.
her life has been hectic.
Very. Yes.
And then Gale is trying to tug her down a path she never really wanted in the first place. And I think if anyone is stringing anyone along, it's Gale stringing along Katniss, and then by extension, Peeta.
Okay. Interesting. Why?
I think because I think Gale's reasoning for wanting Katniss to be in a relationship with him doesn't come from the right place.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it comes from jealousy and a sense of abandonment and this shiny toy has been taken away from me. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think he has any real level of care for her, because if he did, he wouldn't put her through this much shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that if he did love her, she has very blatantly said, I can't do this right now, Gale.
Mm-hmm.
I have too much other things going on about my own survival and rebellion and threats from my head of frickin' state. And yet he's still pushing her and pushing her and pushing her. She has set a boundary with him. She
Yes.
has. She has
Yeah.
gone, I can't do this. And he is still gone. But why not me?
It's not
But why
even
not
like
me?
it's not even like it's like a feeble boundary or something.
No.
Like it's a very solid, very clear, very articulate, like sat down and said, I cannot do this right now. I am dealing with the rebellion, I'm dealing with the threats, I'm dealing with X,
Yeah.
Y, Z. These are the reasons why. It is not something I'm considering right now. Like it's
Yeah.
very much a very, very much like a boundary that she's put in place, and he obviously has a bit of tantrum
Yeah.
because of that
She,
and then doesn't respect it. So
yeah. She's been very, very honest with Gale, and
uh,
Gale's the one who keeps it going. Like, I think you could argue maybe she was a bit of an asshole up to the lake point,
uh,
maybe, because they didn't talk about that first kiss. They just sort of like swept that under the rug. But also, Gale didn't bring that up again either. So, and she may have
uh,
been a bit of an asshole when she kissed him while she's trying to figure things out. This is like, but then she set the boundary and he's the one who keeps pushing her and pushing her and pushing her and pushing her.
yeah,
So that
granted,
just,
granted, this is why I think she's at least a little bit of an arsehole, because she shouldn't have kissed Gale when he was like unconscious, and then thought, do I actually love him though? I don't think I do. Then why don't kiss him? I don't do that, because that is giving him the wrong impression.
but is
Like
she
there
the
are
asshole for that, or is Gale the asshole for basically like making her still worried? Because she set that boundary, and then
mm,
immediately after she set that boundary, Gale disregarded that boundary entirely. Do we think if she had set that boundary and Gale had gone, okay, cool, I'll back off, that kiss would have even happened? Or is he toying with her emotions and
mm,
toying with how she feels to push her to that point? I don't think she at no point here is she stringing along Peeta. I don't
mm,
think she is an asshole in any way for her interactions with Peeta, because Peeta
yeah,
gets it.
yeah,
Peeta understands. Peeta is
yeah,
not the problem. It
yeah,
is this toxic thing between Gale and Katniss that is predominantly on Gale.
yeah. I
But
mean,
how much?
that is so toxic. Like that just grows into such a toxic relationship with Gale, which obviously ends terribly. We're not going to use the context from Mockingjay here. Um, but that never would have been a sustainable, happy, long-term relationship.
Never. Never would have
No.
happened. It could never have been. And I think Katniss deep down knows that, but whatever feeling she acts on that would make her even a small asshole, and I'd argue probably only about a 10% asshole, if that, it comes from Gale not letting it drop. Ever.
And I guess then you do have to think, well, why does Gale behave this way? Why is he so possessive? Does he have an inability to now be alone after being friends with Katniss so long? Like, can he? It does question what's going through his head, and maybe he needs therapy too, because they're just two people like that are gonna absolutely explode.
Yeah. And I think she also knows that. I think she knows that it would never have been a good match for that reason. Like, they're good as friends. Because even in the very beginning of Hunger Games, like, he's driving her up the wall, not letting this rebellion stuff go.
Yeah.
He's the one who's pulling her into the rebellion. And I think that's why he's so toxic as well, because he tries to pull her into the rebellion, as does Haymitch and Plutarch. And at no point does her being involved in rebellion ever really come down to what she truly wants.
Yeah.
So I think 10%, if that. I was probably going to go into this verdict with like a 0%, but you are right with the whole, like, she does kiss him after she set the boundary, and it still continues after the boundary was set. She doesn't back away.
It's like, I think if she's been setting those boundaries, like, she also needs to respect the boundaries. And I'm going to be completely honest, like, I've not been great with that before. Like, I've set boundaries and then I've crossed them because I've been in very confused states.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we've all done it, and we all know how horribly that goes. And now Katniss does too.
I guess the question then, though, is who is she the asshole to? And I think
Gale.
Definitely not Peeta.
Yeah.
I'd argue she's more of an asshole to herself than to Gale, though.
Oh, that's deep.
I feel like Gale's just reaping what he sowed at this point. He's making it worse. If she's going to be an asshole to him, he's an asshole to her. It's kind of like a moot point there. Kind of cancels each other out. You can't call someone an asshole when you're an asshole to them. I think it's more because, but I also don't think she's doing it purposely. And none of this is in her control.
Yeah.
So if it's not in your control, are you an asshole? Like, the life questions. It's the life questions we deal with on this show.
That's tough. That's tough. That's it.
Yeah. I think we probably made a decision for this particular post, but I do want to point out here that we have only used context, again, from Catching Fire and the Hunger Games original book. Like, this is still an evolving situation. And so much more is going to happen between Katniss and Gale, and Katniss and Peeta, and even between Gale and Peeta, I guess, because, you know, one of these boys has beef with the other.
Yeah.
But their issues are pretty one-sided there, because, like, not interested. He doesn't care. But the point is that this Gale versus Peeta question has still not come to a head. It has still not been fully decided one way or the other. And when that does happen, we will be pulling apart all the differences between the two to figure out if Katniss made the right choice. I do feel like, though, that we, for all of our Gale bashing and putting Peeta on a pedestal, we may have given away where we will fall with the ultimate decision. But I think it'll still be a good episode, right?
Hey, who knows when we get into the extra context, percentages may change. I might have different outlooks, and as we grow as people, the next time that we record this, we might think differently. But
I don't think we'll think differently enough to suddenly make Gale a walking green flag.
Oh no,
I think he'll still be, but we might can we maybe be a bit nicer to him? Probably
we'll
not.
See.
Probably not. I can't predict the future, honestly. But as we always have a closing question, I've maybe made a bit of a game out of this one. And themed the debates around Gale and Peeta and what they have inspired. Oh, Katie, these questions are for you. Are you ready?
Okay.
Are you ready? Okay. So, he's a 10, but he pressures you into dropping a friendship you value if you choose to date him. What is he?
Nah, red flag.
What is that? Is that a 0?
Red flag.
He's a
That's
10, is he
0.
now a 0? Okay.
Yeah.
She's a 10, but she won the Hunger Games by ripping someone's throat out with her teeth.
Are we doing like arsehole scale here or red flag, green
Yeah.
flag?
It's like, where is she? And so they're a 10, but ripped her throat out with her teeth. She's a 5. Like, are you into that? Would you date her?
Weird. I was going to say she's a 5 because she probably could have killed someone in a less nasty way, but also she was in the Hunger Games and she wants to survive. Is it an barrier, right?
Yeah, it's an barrier. Yeah. Fair enough. Some of these aren't themed after actual characters. Some of these are just like my brain. They're a 10, but they are the leader of a dictatorship and don't value human life.
Ha 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 ha. Snow. No.
0.
0. No, thank
0.
you.
Not interested. I'm good.
Not interested.
Possibly at -10, to be entirely honest. Like that's not a I won't touch. It's like I'm going in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I'm walking away. I'm going the other way. No, thank you. No.
He's a 10. But his soft side is respecting your boundaries, decorating cakes, and baking your favourite cheese rolls every week. So 100.
Is it more than 100? Oh.
If you got hit with a cute Peeta.
Yeah, God can dream.
It's your turn.
Oh, I'm
It's
actually
your
crying. I really hope this mascara is waterproof. Okay.
Well, we'll find out. We have a couple more.
Okay.
They're a 10. But they are a career who dominated the games, and you're from 12.
Okay, so this is difficult, right? Because I'm just thinking of Finnick.
Oh, I wasn't putting Finnick in I don't think of Finnick as a career.
Well, he is a career, right? He dominated.
I know he's a
games.
career, but he's
won.
too cute to be a career.
That's the thing, right? Because like
horrific.
if you know actually his personality, I obviously I'd have him like an 8 and a 9.
Say it's not Finnick. Say it's Cato.
I'm gonna give him a 2. Just because we know how emotionally messed up he was.
Okay.
And how half of that might not be his fault.
Fair. Cato, fair. Finnick, fair.
Glimmer.
Cashmere. Gloss.
Clove.
Clove. Let's not with the clove. Unless you went to knife play. I'm not.
No, I'm good, thank you. No.
I'm good. Let's top implements out of the bedroom.
It's going off track.
She's a 10. She's a 10, but she didn't volunteer when her sister's name got drawn in the reaping. Katniss.
I mean, I wouldn't expect anyone to volunteer, right? Like hardly anybody volunteers.
Hardly anybody volunteers. That's true.
None of Peter's brothers volunteered for him.
No one volunteered for Rue. All her siblings were younger.
But you can't judge someone for not wanting to go off and die. That's the standard, right?
I'd still lose a point. I still say about a 9. And I don't think I'm going to put you as a 3, but I'm not going to like look at you the same way again.
But it's a standard to not want to die.
Standard, yeah.
If you volunteer, like that's extra points. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, unless you're a career, and if you didn't volunteer at that point, then you would probably be a 2. He's a 10. But he's gotten a little addicted to the capital beauty treatments, and now he looks like a combination of a lion and a bumblebee. But he thinks he looks fantastic.
I mean, for me, that'd have to be quite low down, just because then I'd be worried the entire time he's looking at me, thinking all the things he could change.
Yeah, but then also, like, how much of the beauty treatments are aesthetic and how much of them is like functional? Because like, does he now have a stinger? He's a lion and a bumblebee. Like, am I in mortal danger of something? I don't know.
I don't even want my head to go there.
You've got to have a very specific aesthetic in mind to be a combination of a lion and a bumblebee. Is he stripy? Does he have a mane? I don't know. But I'm not into that. Finally, on Rachel's brain takes things way too far. She's a 10, but she's struggling to decide between you and her best friend.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Not even entertaining that one.
Yeah.
No,
Bye.
0. Bye.
Bye.
Cool. Well, that ends today's episode.
Yeah. So next week, and for a few weeks after, that we'll be doing something a little different. What are we doing, Rachel?
We're having a cheeky little mid-season break. Basically to give us time. Yeah, a rest. To give us a rest. To give us time to finalise like the episodes that we've already filmed, prep ahead, so that our like episodes on the final book in the original trilogy, plus the 2 prequels, are as good as they can possibly be. But we won't be going completely radio silent because the YouTube algorithm would screw us over.
We have some extra special mid-season content we're working on, exploring some things we haven't really been able to slot into the more traditionally formatted episodes that we hope you'll enjoy just as much. As usual, these will be available in audio and video formats in all the usual places. And if you haven't guessed already, we release on Wednesdays.
We do. We release on Wednesdays. If you want to listen to us in the morning on your like commute to work or whatever, the audios are live from 7 a.m.
Bright and
early, yes. So if you're on your way to work or just want to listen to something with your morning cuppa, we are there. That's 7 a.m. UK time because I don't know where you live, but the videos go live at 6 p.m. UK time in an evening. So if you prefer, like me, to put the TV on in the background with YouTube and either eat or play some games, that is what I do. It's at 6 p.m. for the video. So stay tuned for all those. We are starting next week in our mid-season content with a short episode on some of the most interesting fan theories that we have found specifically for the original trilogy for now. But I do want to do one later for some of the prequel theories that have come up.
Oh, 100%.
It'd be so much fun. But for now, bye guys, and we'll see you next week.
Bye guys. Thank you. I'm so hungry.
Let's go eat.
Thanks for listening to our podcast, and don't forget to let us know your thoughts on all of our potential assholes.
No matter what platform you're listening to us on, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, upvote and all that stuff.
If you like what we do and want to find out more, all of our platforms are listed in the description or show notes. We're a 2-person team, so any support or feedback is always greatly received.
Tune in next time to Once Upon a Red Flag. Honey, I think if you need to think about kissing and it ain't an instinct, you aren't kissing the right person.
Yeah, that's very true. I think, if she's doing that with Gale, she shouldn't be doing that. It's like if you're doing something and you can't tell your best friend about it, then you probably shouldn't be doing it.